Hello everyone. Today we're going to talk about debate. Debate is something that kind of has a bad reputation, I think, sometimes, because for a lot of people they think of debate as people sharing ideas, going back and forth, but disagreeing, arguing. A lot of people think of debate as something where there's automatically conflict. I'll tell you a story from the first year that I taught adults. I used to bring a lot of controversial topics into my classes, into my conversation class. And I always brought these controversial topics in, and I expected like a lively conversation where everybody has their opinion and shares their opinion and disagrees and oh boy, it's going to be so fun. But my students, instead of doing that, what they would do is they would try to find some area of common ground, some area where they agreed. And once they had found some area of common ground, some consensus, they would just stop talking about the topic. My students were avoiding debate. And I started thinking about, why do people avoid debate? And I think it's because people just generally avoid conflict. There can be a social cost. If I express my opinion strongly and my opinion is offensive to another person in the group, I might hurt someone's feelings, or I might become seen as the troublemaker in the group, the one who starts problems. People don't want that. Another reason that people avoid debate is because people just get nervous about conflict, or they don't want to damage relationships. Okay, but built into this idea of damaging relationships, of conflict, built into this idea is the idea that it's impossible to disagree with people without hurting feelings, causing trouble. And that's just not true. The problem is not that disagreeing always causes stress or conflict or trouble. The problem is that a lot of people don't know how to disagree in a way that leads to an interesting conversation, in a way that shows respect to the person who they disagree with. Okay, and honestly, these days, especially on social media, we are getting really, really bad at this. People are really bad these days at disagreeing. And this is a problem. And here's why it's a problem. The problem is we need debate. Why? Why do we need debate? What's so important about debate? Well, democracy is built on the idea of discussing and debating ideas. The whole idea of democracy, the reason people think democracy will work, is because they assume that people will be able to discuss complex and difficult ideas. People will be able to discuss difficult and complex ideas, and in discussing difficult and complex ideas, the best ideas will rise up, will become better known, more popular, stronger, and eventually gain agreement from most of the people. And this is called the public square. Okay, the public square is the area where we discuss important ideas. Okay, this is also another term for this is civil society. Civil society is all of the areas of life, all of the places in society where we talk about our society. Civil society, an area where we can talk about our society, talk about problems, suggest solutions, maybe find problems with those ideas, or maybe say, wait a minute, this idea actually sounds really good. Let's try it. And then after we try it, to talk about the results. That is part of how democracy works. And that doesn't work if people aren't talking about things, and if people are afraid to disagree about things. If you don't have discussion about ideas, then what you're going to have is just raw power and people using raw power to get what they want. And again, that's undemocratic. Debate is a key area of democracy. It's why we need a free press. That's why every democracy protects a free press, because the free press, the media, is where we talk about these ideas. The media is where they keep the powerful accountable by sharing ideas, by criticizing them. And without being able to criticize those who have power, without being able to criticize an idea or a policy, the best ideas of democracy won't come out. They won't rise to the top. Democracy needs debate, because debate is where we wrestle with hard ideas, difficult choices, and decide what kind of a society do we want to be. Which means we have to find a way to discuss things respectfully, thoughtfully, in a way that doesn't cause fights or that doesn't automatically seem like fighting. And this is where we are failing right now in a lot of societies. When I look at what's happening in Canada or in the United States these days, when I read English media, and I'm also seeing echoes of this here in Korea too. I see people treating someone who disagrees with them like an enemy who needs to be defeated. And if the people who disagree with your politics are enemies who need to be defeated, we're going to get a society where pretty much one party wins. They put their policies through, even though half the population hates it. And then after a while they lose popularity and the other party wins and they put their policies through, even though half the population hates it. And we just keep going in circles and going in circles. And we don't get better. We don't find better ways to do things. So let's talk about debate. Let's talk about how to debate. And there are a few parts of debate. The official organized style of debate, we'll talk about that later in a different class. But today we're going to talk about introducing ideas. We're going to talk about answering ideas. And then we're going to look at an argument and we're going to give examples of that. If you look on Smart Campus, you're going to find a file called Debate and Opinion Language. And one nice thing about debate is because of how debate works, it kind of falls into patterns. And the nice thing about these patterns is you can learn them, you can memorize them. And once you've memorized them, you know them. In the same way that writing a business letter, there are patterns in a business letter. There are certain phrases that you can use again and again in a business letter. And nobody says, wait a minute, you used the same phrase in the last business letter you wrote me. It's just part of standard communication. And a lot of phrases that we use in debate are like this too. And you can use these to introduce your ideas, to connect your ideas, to show how you feel about someone's ideas. And it's kind of like putting oil on the wheels of a machine. It just makes the whole debate go smoother because everybody recognizes these phrases. And it's easier to go from one part of the debate to the next. So this is a handout that I've made. It has quite a large list of different phrases that you can use for different parts of a debate or a discussion of ideas. I'm going to go through a few of these, but basically they're organized into categories, and you don't need to memorize this entire page, but it's a good idea to go through it and find a few phrases, a few things that you think, I like this one. I think I want to start using it in my own discussions. And then try to do it. What I would suggest is memorize 3 of these. And after you've memorized 3, try to use all 3 next class when we discuss an idea. If you can, memorize 3 more. And the class after that, try to use all 6. Okay? And just add a few more. In the critical thinking class, we talked about how it's good to have more tools in your belt. Well, some of these kind of memorized, repeated phrases are like those tools as well. These are tools that you can use again and again anytime you're discussing ideas. So here are some. To give an opinion. This is the very basic. Okay? Now, using opinion language makes your opinion a little gentler. If I say, let's choose the death penalty. Okay, if I say the death penalty is wrong, there's not much room to discuss that topic if I make such a strong statement right at the beginning. People might be nervous to disagree with me because what if the reason he says it so strongly is because he feels really strongly about this, and if I try to disagree and engage this discussion, he's going to start shouting. Okay, that's the feeling that comes across when we make such a strong statement. So we soften our statements. We make it a little gentler, a little easier, so that people feel safe to disagree. So instead of saying the death penalty is wrong, I think the death penalty is wrong. To me, it seems wrong for the government to execute a prisoner. In my opinion, I believe, okay, getting a little longer and more complex as far as I'm concerned, or personally, or I think. It seems to me that all of these words and phrases just make my opinion a little more gentle so that I don't seem pushy when I give my opinion. Okay? Some people worry that they're going to sound less confident, but in general, one of the rules I like to say is just in general, more words is more polite. Usually more words is more polite. Now, this is hard if you're learning a second language sometimes because simpler sentences are easier, but by memorizing a few of these phrases, you can use them easily. Okay. Another useful tool in a conversation is to check for agreement. To see how strongly do I have to argue this? Does my partner already agree with me anyway? Or do I have to put more work into explaining my reasons? Do you agree or don't you agree? Don't you think so? Are very simple ways to check if your partner is with you or not. Okay? You can introduce an opposite view with a phrase like on the contrary or on the other hand or however. And a lot of these, I'm sure that you already know these. Okay? To concede without giving up. Concede, sometimes your partner makes a good point or says a good thing. And it is a bad move to not admit a single good thing your partner said because you just sound stubborn. So if your partner says something that's smart or insightful or true, correct, concede that point. Acknowledge, yeah, hey, you said a really good thing. That's a intelligent idea, and I'm glad you said it, and the conversation's better because of that. However, sometimes somebody makes a good point, but they haven't changed your mind yet. So you can concede without giving up. That may be true, but I still think. Okay. While you're right about that, you're still wrong about this other thing. Okay. Maybe so, but. Right? So a phrase like maybe so or that's true, but. Okay, these are ways of showing your partner has made a good point. And it's foolish to deny when your partner makes a good point. If you deny, you sound like you don't understand what's happening. Okay, adding conditions. Sometimes sometimes I'm for something, but only in a few cases. Maybe I'm for a death penalty example. Maybe there are only a very few examples where I think it's okay to use the death penalty, and the rest of the time, no. Okay? Then I might use a phrase like, it depends on, or that's only true if. Okay? Maybe sometimes, but not always. Okay? That's not always true. You can add emphasis with words like just or still or so. Now, we could spend a bunch of time and go through this entire chart, but it's probably boring for you to just listen to me read this to you. So the main takeaway I want you to remember is look at this list, choose a few that you think are useful or interesting, that you want to add to your vocabulary, and try to bring them into the conversations you have, okay? Introducing an opposite view, on the contrary, summarizing is a useful skill, and we'll talk about that more later probably. Agreeing. Okay, go ahead and agree when your partner says something good. Some of these are quite strong, like here is a pretty strong way of agreeing with somebody. Okay, I couldn't agree with you more, or you can say that again. Or even the idiom, you hit the nail on the head, is a way of saying, you said it perfectly. You can also disagree. I don't really agree with you. Now, again, I said earlier, this is a way of making your disagreement softer. And especially when we are saying no or not or disagree with a partner, that's another time it's good to use gentler language. Okay? So something like, I'm afraid I can't agree with you. Or I see your point, but these make it a little gentler instead of just looking at your partner and going, no, you're wrong, not true, that's false. Okay, it's going to make your partner feel bad if you talk to them that way. And that's when a conversation moves toward conflict, when people feel disrespected or when people feel like someone is not listening to them. Okay, not changing your mind. There are times when you just haven't been convinced yet, and you need to let the person know. Maybe they've made a lot of good points or they've given a lot of reasons, but I'm sticking to my guns means I'm not going to change. Now that's one that kind of means I'm being a little stubborn here. Okay, I'm still not convinced, or that's not enough to change my mind. Now, agree to disagree, and I don't think this discussion's going anywhere, are ways to end the conversation, to say, I don't think we're gonna agree about this. It's time to talk about something else. Okay, but even there, it's useful to have a few phrases that are ready that you can use in that situation instead of getting frustrated. Okay, getting to the main point, getting your partner to get to the main point. Okay, you're using a lot of words, but what's the big idea? What's the main idea? Okay, just give me the basics or the 30-second version. Clarifying. Okay, maybe your partner doesn't quite understand what you're trying to say. Well, here are some phrases you can use there. Okay, you can also check for clarification. If you're not sure what your partner is saying, it's good to be able to ask about that. Oh, you said this. What do you mean there? Or one of my favorites is this last one. So what you're saying is, one really good way to make sure that you understand and at the same time show your partner that you are listening to them carefully is to tell them their idea back in your words. And that way, it shows that you're listening, and it also gives your partner an opportunity to correct you if you have misunderstood them. Or to say, oh yeah, you got it exactly. That's exactly what I'm trying to say. If you understand exactly what they're saying, it's easier for the disagreement to move on to the next step because you know that you understand each other. And checking for understanding is a useful tool. Accepting suggestions and rejecting suggestions. Okay, a lot of the time people give an idea and you need some language, some tools to deal with when somebody has a policy or an idea or a suggestion. Okay, so this handout is on Smart Campus. You can find it there. Please download it, become familiar with it. When you are discussing ideas in this class, it's fine to just have it out on your desk. Okay, refer to it and practice using these phrases as much as you can. The first thing that you need in a debate is a position. You need something that you're going to argue, something that you think is true that your partner thinks is not true. Or something that your partner thinks is true that you disagree with. And this is, we're going to get into the details a little more later, but this is where we're using some terminology from debate and discussion. When you have an opinion, when you make an argument, okay, an argument first needs a claim. A claim is a statement that you think is true. Okay, your claim is the most important part of the thing that you're writing or your presentation. Your claim is the thing that you think is true, and you want your audience to think it's true too. Your goal in a presentation is to convince your audience that this claim is correct. Okay, so last semester we talked about essay writing, and your thesis statement should be where the claim is found. And the same things that we said last semester about thesis statements, if you were in my class, the same things we said about thesis statements, you can say them about a claim as well. A claim is something that you can say about the world. It's something that should be arguable, which means you need to make a claim that people can disagree with. So saying something like chocolate is delicious, well, who's going to disagree with that, and how can you disagree with that? You don't want to have a claim that's mostly just describing something. You want a claim that's actually taking a position that other people can disagree with. So saying Endgame was enjoyable, Avengers Endgame was an enjoyable film. Enjoyable is connected to my personal feelings, which means that nobody can disagree with that. And you can't come to me and say, well, no, it's not enjoyable. I think you didn't enjoy it. Well, yeah, I did enjoy it. You can't tell me I didn't. So that's not a good claim. So we could say something like Avengers Endgame has a lot of characters. And that is not really a claim. It's just a statement about the movie. You can't argue that position. All you have to do is look at the cast list and see the number of characters. A good claim is arguable, which means people can disagree about it. So saying that Avengers Endgame has too many characters, now it's possible to disagree, and some people could say, no, the number of characters is okay for these reasons, and other people would say, no, there are too many characters for these reasons. And we could look up reasons and give reasons. We could also change our focus a little bit and say that novels with many characters are fine, but movies with many characters cause storytelling problems. And now we're making more of a general statement about art. Okay, but those are claims, and we could find reasons, we could defend them, or we could disagree with somebody's claim and attack them. And those are the kinds of statements you need in a debate or in an argument of any kind. In order to convince people about your claim, you need support. Okay, and last semester we talked about this. You probably talked examples with your professor. Those are the types of support you can use. You can use reasons, you can use facts, you can use data, statistics, you can use examples, you can use expert opinions. Okay, those are all different types of support. You can use logic. Okay, and any of those, whichever one you think is best to persuade your audience to show that your claim is true, that's the support you should use. When you take this together, you have an argument. The claim plus the support is an argument. Okay, this is the technical term of argument. This is kind of the academic way of talking about it. I could say, I had an argument with my son yesterday, but an argument is when I make a claim, I say something about the world, and then I give support, and then I hope that you agree with me. I hope I have persuaded you and changed your mind. Okay, this is claim and support that make an argument. However, in a debate, you have more than one person making claims. So you might have a claim, you might have support, but you might also have a counter. You might also have a counterclaim. Okay, a counterclaim is an opposing statement about the world. Okay, an opposing statement about the world. So, for example, if my claim is, I believe that the death penalty should be abolished. Okay, that's my claim. The death penalty is wrong and it should be abolished. A counterclaim might be, well, I think the death penalty is a useful tool for governments to use. Okay, so now we have two claims, and both claims need support. And the person who brings together the best support is going to win the debate. All right. Now, another way that you can answer somebody's claim is instead of making a counterclaim, you can refute their claim. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about refuting an opinion or refuting a claim. A counterclaim means making a new statement, a different statement. All right, so if I say the death penalty is morally wrong, then you might say, well, the death penalty convinces people not to do certain kinds of crimes. Okay, so instead of saying the death penalty, I say the death penalty is wrong, and you say the death penalty is not wrong, not morally wrong. That would be a refutation. No, that's not true, is a refutation. A counterclaim is giving a different idea instead. Okay? So if I say the death penalty is wrong, it's ethically wrong, and you answer, well, it's so expensive to keep a prisoner alive in prison for their whole life until they die of old age. I'm arguing about morals, and you're arguing about the cost to taxpayers. Okay, that's a different kind of claim, a different kind of statement about the world. Where a refutation is, okay, if your claim is, well, keeping a prisoner in prison until they die of old age is very expensive, well, my refutation might be, well, the lawyer fees it costs more for your legal team to push for a death penalty because the standard is much higher to try and get the death penalty in a crime. So, because the death penalty is a pretty extreme step. So, the lawyer fees and the court costs to process a capital crime, a death penalty crime, are so high that it might even be higher than just keeping a prisoner in prison for their entire life. And if you look at all of those numbers together, we could measure the cost of pushing that court case against the cost of just keeping somebody alive in a prison for, 30 to 50 years. Okay. So that's a refutation. Well, wait a minute, let's talk about that cost. I think you're wrong about that cost. So in Smart Campus, you will find another handout that you can download, and this one is about refuting an opinion. And these are the main ways to refute an opinion. Refutation means to negate, like cancel, or deny something. It's used in debate to tell why the opposing team's point is either not true or not important. Okay? Either you're wrong, or maybe what you said is true, but so what? It's not enough to change my mind. Okay, those are the two strategies you can use. More specifically, you can refute a point by saying that it's not true or not always true. Or you can say it is not necessarily true, which means there might be some doubt about the supporting evidence. If a point is not important, it might be unimportant because it's not really connected to the resolution, it's not relevant, or it might be only a small difference, okay, therefore it's not significant, or it might be a problem that has a simple solution and it's easy to solve. All right, so you have two branches, not true or true but not important. And then you have, for not true, 3 types of not true that it could be. So if I say it's more expensive to pay the lawyers to get a death sentence, you could find me some statistics and show, no, that's not true. Here are the statistics. Okay, or you might say that it's not always true. So sometimes it's true, but not every case. Okay. Or you might say that it's not necessarily true, or we're not sure if it's true. We're not totally sure. We need to look at the evidence more. And there is some doubt. Okay. And if you can just put doubt on somebody's point, on somebody's claim, often that's enough in a debate. So let's look at this handout. Okay, they give the example of cats and dogs, right? Cats are better pets than dogs. So cats are better pets than dogs because a cat costs $100 while the dog costs $105. Well, $5 is a very small amount of money. Okay, so is that not true or is that not important? Right? I think we can figure out which one of these it is. Okay. So I'd like you to go through this one and just answer each of these, figure out which of these what are these arguments doing, which method, not true, not always true, not necessarily true, not relevant, not significant, or easy to solve. Which one of these does each of these ones make? Okay, which type of refutation does each one make? And after that, also practice making refutations. Okay, just do the activities on all 3 pages of this handout. Okay. This is the end of the first video in the debate, discussion, and argument series. In this video, we talked about why debate is important, why we need it. We talked a little bit about some of the parts of a debate, including things like claims and support, as well as what is an argument. We talked a little bit about language that you can use in a debate to smooth out the rough spots, to smooth out the disagreement, and help your conversation partner know what's happening and know how you feel. And then we also have talked a little bit about what a counterclaim is and what a refutation is and how those two things are different. In the next video, we're going to look at one argument and we're going to examine it by suggesting some counterclaims and some refutations and looking at how refutation works and how counterclaims work. So please watch the next video. Thank you for watching this one, and thank you for watching.